Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture on impacts of global climate change on agricultural production. First, you will have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we're diving into one of the most pressing global challenges of our time, the impacts of global climate change on agricultural production and the pathways to potential solutions. Much of today's lecture draws from the comprehensive review titled Impacts of Global Climate Change on Agricultural Production, a comprehensive review by Yuan and others, 2024, published in Agronomy. To begin, climate change has become a formidable threat to global agriculture. Since 1850, global temperatures have been rising steadily, with accelerated warming observed since 1982. This warming disrupts key environmental factors such as temperature, precipitation, and atmospheric carbon dioxide levels, all of which are essential to crop health and productivity. Let's first examine the direct impacts on crops. Rising temperatures are shortening crop growth cycles, meaning crops have less time to accumulate nutrients. This can negatively impact yield and grain filling, especially for cereals like wheat and maize. Additionally, fluctuations in temperature and sunlight reduce the flowering success of crops and increase frost vulnerability. Crop yields are also under threat. Water scarcity, increased evapotranspiration, and heat stress contribute to significant yield losses. For instance, maize and soybean yields have already declined in some regions due to these compounded heat drought effects. Moreover, climate change may lower the nutritional quality of crops. Elevated carbon dioxide levels reduce the protein and micronutrient content of staple foods like rice and wheat, potentially affecting global. Beyond the direct effects, there are significant indirect consequences. Extreme weather events, such as droughts, floods, and frosts, are becoming more frequent and severe. These events can devastate harvests, damage infrastructure, and increase production costs. Soil degradation is another critical issue. Higher temperatures and altered rainfall patterns disrupt soil organic carbon reserves, reduce fertility, and increase salinization, weakening the very foundation of food production. Changing precipitation patterns create water shortages in some regions and flooding in others, disrupting irrigation and rain-fed agriculture. Additionally, warmer climates and erratic weather support the spread of pests and diseases into new areas, posing further risks to crops. It's important to note that agriculture is not only a victim, but also a contributor to climate change. Agricultural practices are responsible for substantial greenhouse gas emissions, notably methane from livestock and rice paddies, and nitrous oxide for fertilizer use. Deforestation and land use changes to expand farmland release massive amounts of carbon dioxide, further intensifying global warming. So how can we respond? First, technological innovation is key. Precision agriculture, remote sensing, and smart irrigation systems like drip irrigation help conserve water and optimize inputs. Developing climate-resilient crop varieties through gene editing can improve yields and resistance to stress. Second, soil conservation strategies, such as crop rotation and reduced tillage, enhance soil health and carbon storage. Moreover, closed-loop agricultural systems, like vertical farming and hydroponics, offer ways to grow food efficiently with less land and water while reducing emissions. Third, we also need sustainable fertilizer solutions. Biofertilizers and green production methods can cut emissions and protect water quality. Water reuse and recycling systems, including rainwater harvesting and wastewater treatment, help mitigate the impact of droughts, and improve resource efficiency. Finally, strong international cooperation, adaptive policy frameworks, and robust climate information services are essential to scale these solutions globally and support vulnerable regions. In summary, climate change presents both immediate and long-term threats to agricultural systems worldwide. However, through a combination of smart technologies, sustainable practices, and global collaboration, we can build more resilient and adaptive agricultural systems for the future. That concludes today's lecture. Let's open the floor for discussion. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, or reflections.